on the benefits of self-counseling. So this is a session which is relating to how much we are able to help ourselves. So this is part of my work-life balance series of wellness workshops, because you deserve a great life. The kind of strength each of you have within yourself, which I would like to bring to your notice if you haven't noticed already. Now, self-therapy or self-counseling is a therapeutic treatment of oneself for the purpose of coping with personal or emotional problems. At the same time, counseling is usually more short-term than therapy. Now, psychotherapy is more long-term than counseling and focuses on a broader range of issues. But many a time when we talk about self-counseling or self-therapy, we often relate it to each other a lot. We do not stress on the time period. How would we like to achieve what we are looking ahead? The second one is to understand more about the problem that we are facing with regard to the goal. How we look at an issue will depend a lot on what we are wanting or desiring from that situation and that moment. The third thing would be to study our feelings or behavior closely. How exactly is this problem affecting us? Is it affecting our day-to-day routine, or is it affecting us a lot more in detail than we are realizing it at this point of time? So that, I think, is very important. So studying and of course understanding our behavior with regard to the issue is the next step. And of course, one of the ways I think which helped me was also to describe to myself the feelings, the thoughts, the intensity of what I was going through. Self-talk plays a huge role, because many a time what you tell yourself will also determine how you feel. So if you're going to tell yourself, oh, what have you done? Can't you do anything right? You can be sure that's not the right step. But if you are conscious about what you tell yourself, if you're going to associate yourself with the self-talk you're giving and the thoughts and beliefs that go with it, it will help you. So challenge yourself about the irrational beliefs you have and replace the irrational thoughts and beliefs. And last would be to practice. So practicing this regularly, being conscious of what you're thinking of, being conscious that your thoughts will play a very major role to what you do in life, will help you to take care of yourself and to begin your journey of self-therapy or self-counseling, depending on how long or short the period you want it to be. Why self-therapy might be a good option. The first one could be due to the shortage of time. You might have difficulty in probably making a trip to see a therapist or to see a counselor. So in such cases, this is a very good option. Number two, in my case, it was mainly because I did not feel comfortable. If I had to, I would have probably gone ahead and seen a therapist or a counselor. But at that point of time, I just did not feel comfortable about revealing what I was going through to anyone. Number three, it could be financial difficulty. Seeing a therapist or a counselor could be expensive, as we all know. And even that could be a valid reason. So these are the three reasons why you could consider self-therapy as something which is beneficial, providing the problem is not too severe. Some of the uses of the self-help strategies which are followed, it's basically identifying certain challenges, certain behavioral patterns that you wish to change and improve on, keeping it very simple. And how can we do that? It is through self-help strategies. The first one would be to identify the situation, what is causing the trouble. The second one is to become aware about the thoughts regarding those challenges and identify negative thinking, the third one. The fourth one would be to reshape and accentuate the right way of thinking that you would like to get into. If you look at how self-therapy can question and help you to combat negative thoughts, is the first one would be, what is the evidence that you have? Like I mentioned, is it just your thoughts, your beliefs? So we now come to the evidence. Yes, so we need to look at the evidence there. We need to look at the right interpretation. We need to look at how can another person see the situation that you are going through? How would your friend see the situation that you're going through? And the fourth one would be, if the situation is seen in a positive light, how could it be different? Is there a positive angle to it? The fifth one will be, how will you look at this situation years later? Look at how can external therapists help you. The first thing would be accountability. Because I think when it comes to accountability, I do admit, when I was practicing self-therapy on my own, on myself, I understand that although it gave me a lot of time to help myself to, in a very structured, systematic manner, it was basically, I was accountable for myself. So unless we are very, very careful about and conscious about how structured and how systematic we are moving forward in overcoming our problem, it is a challenge. So from that angle especially, a counselor would be able to bring in a certain accountability into the picture. The second thing would also be encouragement. Now, not all of us are self-motivated, or do we appreciate ourselves to the extent we ought to. And for many of us, we need that little encouragement from someone around us. When you are basically trying to overcome a crisis on your own, there is a lot of mechanisms you would use, and which you would also realize may work, may not work, will work. So from that angle, yes, it can be something very challenging for you, but I'm just trying to give you the picture from both angles. So that should you look at, consider self-therapy, go for it. I know that each of you have the ability and the potential. At the same time, if you believe that you need assistance because of these reasons, do not hesitate and go for counseling as well. Through self-therapy, you also learn about time management. Because how can you schedule your time better so that you are able to achieve your goals with greater purpose and with greater clarity? And one of the things that you would realize is you would be willing to face your fears so that you know what to do with them. Do you want to throw them out, or are you managing your fears? Now, factors to be considered when you are undergoing self-therapy is the problems, the scope of the problem, I think, which we had mentioned earlier. You need to also study the problem thoroughly. You need to consider the feelings and, of course, understanding involved. How exactly have you understood the situation? And science, when you need to take guidance from the counselor, I keep bringing this back because there is absolutely nothing wrong if you wish to take additional help, or if you only want to take the help of a counselor, because you may find it little overwhelming. One of the reasons could be you're overwhelmed, you're unable to work, you're also resorting to perhaps substance abuse because you are finding it difficult to cope up. You could have relationship issues because of the problem you're facing. You could have problems with your sleep and appetite. Your physical wellness could get affected. And at the same time, if someone who loves you very much thinks that you ought to go for counseling. There were so many areas I was just neglecting purely because I felt guilty. And I felt that no, I should not do that because I should do this. It makes a difference because the priority has to be only about keeping people happy. Now, keeping people happy is very important, absolutely. However, just like how you treat others, are you treating yourself well? Do you respect yourself as much as you respect others? I want each of you to ask yourself that, because that is a very, very powerful question. And sometimes that question can the answer could just kind of make you feel shocked, because you could just find out that no, you don't, because you always prioritize people. And then at the same time, you might be feeling that, oh, people don't care. But do you care about yourself? Because that is the first step in enabling you to become more courageous, in enabling you to think about self-therapy or any kind of therapy.